2024-2025 season is nearly over, with only one game left, the Super Bowl. However, there's still one more important event, and that's NFL Honors, the award ceremony recognizing the best players of the 2024 season. In this video, I'm going to give my own NFL Honors awards, plus some extra, more interesting awards that I added in. There are timestamps in the description if you would like to see a specific award. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribing takes just a second, and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Let's start with the actual NFL Honors Awards with my MVP, which I'm giving to Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley were definitely in consideration, but Lamar had an otherworldly season that, to me, gives him this award. He finished 6th in passing yards with 4,172, along with a tie for second, 41 passing touchdowns, to just 4 interceptions. He also led the NFL in yards per attempt with 8.8 and passer rating with 119.6. On top of that, he also finished with a league-leading 915 rushing yards and an additional 4 rushing touchdowns. He finished with more total yards and more total touchdowns than Josh Allen. I understand the argument for Allen, but to me, Lamar is my MVP. Moving on to my Offensive Player of the Year, and this one's pretty obvious, it's Saquon Barkley. I get Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown, but Saquon Barkley finished with 2,005 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns in just 16 games. He had 11 out of 16 games with over 100 yards. He finished second in yards after contact and had the most 10-plus yard runs. There were multiple games this season where Barkley had more carries than Jalen Hurts had pass attempts because Barkley was just that good. His most notable performance was when he ran for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Rams in Week 12. It's rare to see a player change teams and immediately be the best at their position, but Barkley did that here. I'd check on any Giants fans living near you. My Defensive Player of the Year pick might surprise you, but it's not going to an edge rusher. It's actually going to cornerback Patrick Surtain. Surtain put the entire NFL on lockdown this season. Despite playing the 7th most coverage snaps in the league, Surtain was only targeted 52 times. Every other player in the top 20 in terms of coverage snaps were targeted at least 65 times. He had the most coverage snaps per target with 11.5, meaning that on average, he was only targeted 1 time out of every 11.5 passing plays. He allowed just a 61.1 passer rating when targeted, and arguably his most impressive feat was that he held the following players to under 35 yards: Jacoby Myers, DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, DeAndre Hopkins, JSN, Brock Bowers, Mike Evans, and T. Higgins. That is ridiculous stuff. The only time he gave up more than 35 yards all season was to Jerry Jeudy, where he gave up 37 yards. Surtain was absolutely insane this year, and I believe that he deserves Defensive Player of the Year. Moving on to the Rookie Awards, well, we'll start with Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I'm of course giving to Jayden Daniels. The 2nd overall pick immediately turned the Commanders around, bringing them to a 12-5 record, all while throwing for 3,568 yards, 25 touchdowns, and just 9 interceptions. He also broke the rookie rushing yards record for quarterbacks, finishing with 820 on the ground. He brought the Commanders to the 5th best offense in the NFL, and there's absolutely no question that they found their franchise guy. My Defensive Player of the Year is Jared Verse, and just like Daniels, this one isn't very surprising. Verse had an outstanding rookie season, finishing 4th in the entire NFL in pressures with 77. He also had 4.5 sacks and 15 QB hits to go along with a 19.6% pass rush win rate. Verse wasn't quite Aaron Donald, but man was he worth the 19 overall pick, and the Rams found themselves a future superstar for years to come. Moving on to Coach of the Year, and to me, there is no one more deserving than Kevin O'Connell. O'Connell's Vikings had a really rough offseason. They lost longtime QB Kirk Cousins to the Falcons before signing, of all people, Sam Darnold to be the bridge quarterback. They drafted JJ McCarthy, but he tore his meniscus in the preseason, and on top of all that, they lost 2 cornerbacks, Mekhi Blackmon to a torn ACL, and Kyrie Jackson to a tragic car accident. All this culminated in the Vikings' preseason win total being projected at 6.5. However, the Vikings managed to win 14 games this season and make the playoffs. Sam Darnold had a career revival under O'Connell, and the Vikings, by all accounts, greatly exceeded expectations. O'Connell did an incredible job with the Vikings this year and is my Coach of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year might be a bit debatable, but I'm giving it to J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has had a straight up gruesome injury history with multiple ligament tears in his knee and a torn Achilles that caused him to play just 9 games in all of 2021 through 2023. However, this season with the Chargers, Dobbins had a career year, boasting a career high in yards and tied for a career high in touchdowns. He was a huge part of the Chargers' running game and offense overall, and while Burrow was in consideration, I think this award definitely goes to Dobbins. Now it's time to move on to the more fun and interesting awards, and these are only going to get weirder and weirder. Starting with my Most Improved award, which goes to Zach Bond of the Philadelphia Eagles. Before this season, Bond was a member of the Saints for 4 years and had never played more than 305 snaps in a season. This season, however, he played nearly 1,000 snaps and was arguably the best linebacker in the NFL. He boasted both the highest coverage grade and overall PFF grade out of all linebackers in the league. He had 7.2 snaps per target and led the entire NFL in defensive stops with 76, and he led the entire NFL in tackles with 135. On top of all that, he was a first-team All-Pro. To go from a backup to first-team All-Pro is insane, and Bond definitely deserves Most Improved. But of course, there's an opposite to Most Improved, and that's where my biggest fall-off award comes in, which goes to none other than Kirk Cousins. Cousins was handed a 4-year, $180 million contract in the offseason, and apart from 2 games against the Bucs, Cousins was absolute dog shit. He had a stretch of 5 games before his benching, where he threw 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions. He went from one of the highest paid quarterbacks to not even being able to finish his first season of that contract because of how bad he was. Sorry Kirk, but you fell off hard. My best overall play award goes to the Commanders' Hail Mary against Chicago. Down 3 with 2 seconds left from their own 48, Jaden Daniels avoided multiple defenders and heaved a Hail Mary to the end zone, which was somehow tipped and caught by Noah Brown. This play was absolutely ridiculous and was also the play that sent the Bears on a 10-game losing streak, which, as a Vikings fan, I find hilarious. Anyway, insane play from the Commanders and will be one to remember. But we all know the NFL is about the funny moments, and that's why my funniest play award goes to Kenny Pickett getting thrown by the football. Yeah, the roles were quite literally reversed on this one. How did this happen? Because Kenny Pickett was a part of it. That's all the reason you need. Now for my best catch award. There were a lot of contenders for this one, but I chose Garrett Wilson's one-hander against the Texans for a touchdown. This catch had shades of OBJ, and not just because it was in the exact same stadium. It also came on a 3rd and 19, which made it even better. The Jets ended up winning by 8 points, so this catch was crucial. It's unfortunate that the Jets are such a dysfunctional franchise that they're probably going to lose Garrett Wilson in the offseason, but at least they'll have this to remember. Alright, here's a good one. It's my Jameis Winston award, which goes to the funniest player this season. And surprisingly, it's not actually Jameis Winston. This award goes to Will Levis, aka this generation's Jameis Winston. Levis actually had enough memes to make a whole catalog, whether it was the hands on head after throwing a pick 6, the diving fumble, the Spider-Man celly, the disgusted face, or the head down sprint after throwing another pick 6. Levis always had some of the most entertaining plays you'll see. His play style was also just really funny. He had complete disregard for ball security and just chucked his balls wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. Sometimes it worked, other times it didn't. That being said, Will Levis was definitely the funniest player this season, and I hope he starts next year, just so we get more memes. Now it's time to make fun of the Zebras with my Worst Ref Moment award, and trust me, there were a lot of options, but I had to go with the no-call face mask at the end of the Vikings-Rams game back in Week 8. I mean, this penalty was practically impossible to be more obvious, but the refs didn't do anything. Byron Young even put his hands on his head because he knew he screwed up, and it didn't even matter because the refs are blind. But we knew that already. Next up is my Vince Wilfork award, which goes to the best big man player of the year. This award goes to Michael Pierce's interception in Week 18 against the Browns. The 355-pound defensive tackle is now the heaviest player to record an interception in the 21st century. But what made this play even better was Pierce's reaction after he got the ball. When he saw how far he had to go, he said, "Nah, bro," and just slid down. His explanation of why he did it was also really funny.
There's a long history of turning big guy interceptions and fumbles and all that stuff into memes. So at the risk of ruining a career play like that for myself, it's time to go home. So bus without a gas, we're good.
Also, I think we can all agree that only Bailey Zappi would throw an interception to Michael Pierce. Another specially named award, the Ryan Fitzpatrick Award, which goes to the best backup QB this season. And this award goes to Michael Penix Jr., who was a backup until Kirk Cousins got benched. Penix only played 3 games, but was really good. He threw for 755 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, but 2 of those interceptions were objectively not his fault. He had a 9.0 big time throw percentage, just a 1.7 turnover-worthy play percentage, and finishes the 8th highest grade quarterback per PFF. Looking back, the Falcons made the right decision by drafting Penix 8th overall. Now we've got my Ticking Time Bomb Award, which goes to the worst clock management of the season, and that has to go to Matt Eberflus against the Lions on Thanksgiving. You've all seen the clip. Caleb Williams gets sacked with 32 seconds left, the Bears still have a timeout, but instead of using it, they let the clock run all the way down to 6 seconds before snapping it, forcing Caleb to try a Hail Mary to the end zone, which fails. Game over, timeout still not used. Eberflus even tried defending his decision, but he was rightfully fired after that game. An absolute disaster class from Eberflus that hopefully we will never see again. My best relationship award doesn't actually go to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, which is really disappointing to all 3.6 of the 14-year-old girls watching this video, but it actually goes to Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld. And while I don't know the first thing about relationships, I mean, I post shit on YouTube, what do you expect? I do know that it sparked a 5-game stretch from Josh Allen where he went 4-1 and accumulated 1,410 total yards and 18 total touchdowns in 5 games. He and the Bills offense scored 189 points in those games, which is 37.8 points per game. Whatever Steinfeld did to Allen, it certainly worked. Next up is the
That looked a little Mahomie
award, which I'm giving to Joe Burrow on this parallel throw to T. Higgins against the Browns. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we see out of Patrick Mahomes. You could even say that it was Mahomie-esque. It was a heck of a play by Joe Burrow. So Mahomie. Anyway, next up is the Kadarius Toney Award, which goes to the player with the worst drop, and I'm giving this one to Xavier Legette at the end of the Eagles-Panthers game. Bryce Young was in the middle of leading a 98-yard game-winning drive when, on 2nd and 4, he tossed it to a wide-open Legette, who dropped it. Legette had already dropped 2 passes on this drive so far, but this one sealed the deal. The Panthers couldn't convert on 3rd or 4th down, and game over. Critical drop by Legette that basically summarizes the Panthers the last few seasons. My penultimate award of this video is the Matt Ryan Award, which goes to the worst blown lead of the season. There weren't too many blown leads, but I'm definitely giving it to the Houston Texans in Week 10, who blew a 16-point lead to the Lions. What makes this so bad, however, is not only that they were up 23-7 at halftime, they lost 26-23 despite forcing 5 interceptions out of Jared Goff. This made Goff's 5 interceptions the second most in a win all time. The Texans overall had a pretty good season, but this was not their proudest moment. For the final award, and my personal favorite, it's the Calvin Ridley Award, which goes to the biggest gamble of the season, and you just knew it was going to the Lions. Specifically, the Lions going for it on 4th down against the Packers, despite it being a tied game, and the Lions were in field goal range. The obvious decision here is to kick the field goal and hope your defense can get a stop, but that's not the Dan Campbell way. Instead, they went for it, got it, and kicked a field goal with no time left, securing the win and not giving the Packers a chance. Want to summarize Dan Campbell in one play? This is how you do it. But that's it. Those are my 2024-2025 NFL awards. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? What's your favorite award? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and that's it for me. See ya!